ComfyUI has quietly spread throughout the VFX studios like wildfire recently. There are some VFX shots that being completed using these tools. Most of the people have no idea is it even happening. But it does not spread because of the hype. It spreads because it actually fits into the VFX pipeline at certain level. On the surface, it looks like a dream. It can create clean plates, extend set, generate mats, and fills in missing pixels in seconds. Underneath the convenience, something VFX had never had to deal with before. A tool that makes it incredibly easy to cross legal, creative, and technical lines without even realizing it. And that is the problem. So, what is actually ComfyUI and who created it? ComfyUI is an open source node based AI tool that lets you build image generation and editing. ComfyUI was created by a developer known in online as a Comfy Anonymous and first released publicly on GitHub in January 2023. It's actually 3 years old. It started as a personal project to explore and experiment how stable diffusion works under the hood. If you have ever used Nuke, you will already understand it's a node-based system for AI. As the name says, ComfyUI is just a UI. The real power is in the AI models behind it. Most VFX studios like it because it runs locally. You can run ComfyUI completely offline inside a local Docker on each machine with no internet access. That means no client images going to cloud, no legal issues with the data, no per image fees. From a production point of view, that is huge. It turns AI from a risky online service into just another piece of software running on the workstation. The models, the LoRa's and checkpoints are developed by IT, evaluated on air-gapped machines, approved for commercial use, then placed on a central server inside a studio network. So, from the studio point of view, it's just another piece of software in the pipeline. Most people online use ComfyUI for concept art, stylized images, and video generation. But in VFX, ComfyUI is being used for actual VFX production work. Tasks like upscaling, rotoscoping, cleanup, inpainting, look dev, mesh generation, matte painting, face swaps, utility pass generations like depth, normal passes. If you are a compositor, it immediately feels familiar. It looks like a nuke than something like a chatbot. So that's the introduction of ComfyUI. Now, here is the danger spot. Visual effects is built on stability. Studios depends on workflows that can be repeated for years. But AI is opposite of that. Every few weeks, months, new models and updates comes out. Old one breaks unexpectedly and randomly. Workflows that worked last month and stops working today sometimes. When trying to build a stable production pipeline on top of this is like trying to build a house on a moving sand. You might get something done, but it will not stand for long. And then the copyright. A lot of AI models running inside ComfyUI are not actually cleared for proper commercial use. Some are trained on scrapped internal images, and some are based on copyright works. When you use them, you are not paying the artist who made the original images, you are not even acknowledging them. In traditional VFX, you license everything textures, footages, models, elements. With AI, the entire system disappears. Any studios walking straight into that legal green zone. And it breaks the most important rule in visual effects industry. Do not touch a plate. You adjust it, you enhance it, you add it, but never completely touch the original photography. But ComfyUI does exactly the opposite. It recreates complete pixels, it invents the details, and it guesses what should be there. That is terrifying in the VFX business because clients care about continuity, realism, and accuracy. Precision still matters. And also, clients in visual effects industry are incredibly specific. They want highlight to be moved little bit. The shadows has to be softened and edges to be 2 pixels tighter. AI cannot do that reliably. You cannot tell it to nudge at 3% brightness or match a reflection from a previous continuous shot. If you cannot hit the notes with the pixel level control by the deadline, you are not doing a real production work. Most AI workflows are still stuck in 8 or 16-bit colors. There is no real 32-bit floating point ACS pipeline, and there is no proper EXR supports. All the inputs we are giving to ComfyUI either MOV or MP4s, and all the outputs that are coming from ComfyUI are MP4 or video outputs only, not a proper EXR floating point renders. This alone disqualifies AI from serious compositing in many VFX studios. And added to the fact it still needs huge GPUs with a massive VRAMs. Suddenly, this free tool is not cheap at all. From an IT point of view, because these tools can choke the network due to size of the large AI models, max out and overheat the GPUs, break the security policies frequently. And this looks like a potential denial of service attack waiting to happen. The real problem is not that ComfyUI exists. The problem is that it removes two important things that VFX depends upon: control and accountability. ComfyUI is not actually going to take the VFX jobs, but it is changing what VFX jobs looks like. The artists who know how to combine traditional skills with AI tools will be faster, cheaper, and more valuable. That's the ground reality. And the artists who refuse to touch it will be still be good, but slowly harder to justify in a world that runs on speed. That is why ComfyUI matters, not about AI, because it decides who gets to stay relevant in the next version of VFX. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Studios are not pushing AI because they love new technology. They use it to win the bids. If one studio can tell a client, we can deliver this sequence with 30% of sure artists using AI, they will win the bid and others will lose it. Once major studio does this, every other studio forced to follow or lose the work. That is how an AI arms race begins. So AI is not a creative choice, it is a financial strategy. ComfyUI does not basically replace the artist in a one big moment. It will start quietly reduce how many hours each shot needs. If one compositor can now do the work of two, the studio saves salary, overtime, and other freelance budgets. Multiply that across hundreds of shots and dozens of projects, and suddenly AI is not a tool. It is a cost cutting system. That is why VFX studios care about ComfyUI and other AI tools. Not because it is exciting, new, and cutting edge. It makes basically bits cheaper. Once AI become part of the pipeline, it changes how the work is priced. If a cleanup used to take 4 hours and now takes 10 minutes, no client will ever want to go back and pay for 4 hours again. That puts pressure on every VFX artist in the chain. Even if AI does not take your job, it still can take your rate. Traditional VFX scales like this. More shot means more artists, more time, and more additional artists. AI driven VFX scales differently. More shots means more GPU hours, and GPUs are predictable. Humans are not. Finance department love predictable costers. They hate unpredictable costers like labors. When work depends on skill, artists have the power. When work depends on softwares, tools, GPUs, studio and IT have the actual power. And here's the uncomfortable truth. AI is not being adapted because it makes better images or makes life faster and quicker. It is being adapted because it makes cheaper images. And that is why ComfyUI is not just another tool. It is a financial lever that is quietly reshaping how VFX is priced, who gets hired, and what creative level is worth. And once that shift has happened, it does not go back.